Our next guest speaker is Erik Carlin, who is the co-founder and chief product officer at ProsperOps, which is a rising star within the AWS ecosystem, a software that uses AI, optimization algorithm, and real-time execution engine to deliver maximum hands-free cloud-saving outcomes. Prior to that, Erik was a vice president at Rackspace, where he started to manage AWS business and grew it to one of the largest AWS premier consulting partners, and a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. Erik led the product and engineering teams for all of Rackspace managed cloud public clouds, including AWS, Azure, GCP. We won't mention the rest, but you know what he's done. He has an extensive experience helping hundreds of complex at-scale customers optimize their costs on cloud. Erik's topic today is AWS cost optimization, maximizing your effective savings rate with dynamic discount portfolio. Erik, long time no see.
What's up, John? What's up, AWS Fest?
Erik, thank you so much for joining. Erik, go ahead, share your screen. I'm going to let you take it away, and I'll be back for the Q&A session.
Great. Thanks, everybody. As John said, my name is Erik Carlin. I'm co-founded ProsperOps. Today, we want to talk about how to optimize your AWS compute. Specifically, we want to talk about a KPI you may or may not be familiar with called effective savings rate, or ESR, why it's important, and how you can use ESR to assess your the efficacy of your rate optimization efforts, so RIs and savings plans, and introduce you to sort of the art of the possible and show you some things you may not know are possible to sort of increase your effective savings rate on AWS. Quick, just sort of background on ProsperOps. We started the company in 2018. We're backed by HIG Growth Partners. The founders all came from a company called Rackspace, where we started the managed AWS business. So we've helped hundreds to thousands of customers with AWS in all kinds of ways, including cost. Today we manage, we're approaching $1 billion of AWS compute usage under management. We've got customers, small, medium, large, some of Amazon's largest, most sophisticated customers, resellers, MSPs. And so that's kind of what we do. We use AI and automation to basically deliver savings outcomes for customers. And wanted to start with this slide right here, just to kind of give you all some context. So if you look at that outer blue circle, that is the overall AWS run rate of $85 billion. This just hot off the press. This just came from Jassie's shareholder letter that came out last month. What that means is if you take Amazon's revenue and multiply it by 12, that is their expected revenue for the next 12 months, $85 billion with a B. Generally speaking, since this is compute edition, the compute spend generally represents about 60% of the average AWS bill. Your mileage may vary, but generally speaking, it's 60%. So that's about 51 billion of the 85 billion. And then it's also estimated that about 30% of all spend is waste. And so if you take 30% times the 51, you get over $15 billion. It's estimated is basically waste on AWS. And by that, it's stuff that you're either running that you shouldn't be running, or stuff that you're running that you could pay less for. So there's two dimensions of waste. To kind of give you a sense of the order of magnitude, I actually asked ChatGPT, I said, I'm giving a talk using the number $15 billion. Give me an interesting example to sort of illustrate the magnitude of $15 billion. And ChatGPT came back and said, that's the cost to host an Olympic Games. So every single year on AWS, the estimated waste is basically equal to what it costs to host an Olympic Games. So if you remember nothing else from this talk, maybe you'll remember that'll stick in your mind. So how do we go and remove this waste, right? This is about optimizing compute, AWS Fest. How do we get rid of this waste? Again, two ways to do that. Usage optimization, I would say just use less stuff, run less stuff. So maybe you're going to take advantage of auto scaling so that you're not running your compute all the time, right? It's going to scale down and scale up. So you're going to use less stuff. Might be like right sizing, right? So you're running an instance size that's too big. Might be transitioning certain things from EC2 to Fargate to Lambda, moving containers. There's all sorts of ways that you can optimize in terms of using less stuff. The other way to do that is to rate optimize. So for the stuff that you do use, you pay less for it. And that's what I want to focus on today, is this world of rate optimization. And this leads us to effective savings rate. If you want to learn more, you can go to effectivesavingsrate.com. Maybe somebody can drop that in chat. This is a little microsite we set up with some links to some blogs and actually a public Google sheet you can use to calculate your ESR on AWS. But basically what ESR represents is a single, simple KPI that represents what you've actually saved using rate optimization when all is said and done. And if you're familiar with RIs and savings plans, generally the metrics that are spoken about and what is made available through AWS are things like coverage, which is how much of your usage is covered by a discount instrument, and utilization, which is of the commits you've deployed, how much of them are actually generating a discount. Those are not unimportant at all, but they don't actually answer the question about, at the end of the day, what did you save, right? Amazon likes to say you can save up to 72%, right? Nobody, it's some random, instance type and platform that generates that discount. Nobody actually receives that. What do you actually get? What is your savings rate at the end of the day? And so ESR basically takes into account coverage, utilization, and discount rate, right? So are you making a 1-year commit, a 3-year commit? Are you prepaying? Is it discounting Lambda? Is it discounting EC2? Is it in, Frankfurt, or is it in US East 1? There's all sorts of things that contribute to discount rate, but ESR is your ungameable, simple, single metric that just tells you at the end of the day, what kind of discounts have you achieved. What you see on the left are statistics that come from the FinOps Foundation in terms of when they've polled their practitioners, which generally achieved through traditional means. What you see on the right there is sort of what I want to introduce you today, which is advanced techniques, the art of the possible, and a fully automated solution and what it does to react very, very quickly to your environment. And at the end of the day, you can take your effective savings rate from, say, the 20% range, up to above, 45%. So again, if you want to learn more, effectivesavingsrate.com. All right. So if most people achieve an ESR of around, say, 20-ish% and you want to get that up, how do you do that, right? And how do people generally approach sort of commit discount management today? It's really one of two ways. The first is really this idea of covering conservatively, in the sense that you may have usage that's increasing, like you're seeing here in this chart. And so as that usage increases, you hedge, you leave a buffer, and you're sort of conservatively adding commitments, which is certainly a valid approach. But what you're doing is anything that's usage between that purple line and the top of your commitments, you're paying on-demand rates for. So you're leaving savings on the table, and that's driving your effective savings rate down. Conversely, you can take a very aggressive approach where you cover quickly and aggressively, but if you ever have any sort of re-architecture or optimization event or anything that causes your usage to decline, a macroeconomic condition that changes business, et cetera, you end up with your usage dropping below your commitment, in which case you're overcommitted. Again, this is going to affect your savings rate. So depends on how you want to take the sword. You can take it either way. These are kind of the two approaches that we see most often. Both of them will basically cause your effective savings rate to be suboptimal. So again, what is the alternate approach? What can we do here to drive effective savings rates even higher? And want to talk a bit about just the Amazon Compute Commit Discount portfolio, right? Amazon has a variety of instruments that you can use. The most recent and what we see the majority of people going to for its simplicity is the Compute Savings Plan. And this is a great instrument from AWS. It delivers really good discounts. It reacts immediately, requires no management. It will automatically cover. And if you're shifting your compute between instance types, or you're moving from EC2 to Fargate, or even globally between regions, it will automatically float and cover that. So it's fantastic in its horizontal flexibility. It covers all compute instruments, so it's great in that regard. The downside of compute savings plans is its disposability. Once you make that commitment to AWS for X amount per hour over the term, you have zero recourse to lower that commitment in any way, right? And so that's where you get into the scenario where you either hedge, or if your usage drops, you have no recourse but to be overcommitted. Two other instruments. Next is convertible RIs. They offer the exact same discount as compute savings plans. It's not automatic, but particularly in a programmatic environment with real-time telemetry ingestion and monitoring, you can react very quickly in hours. Its scope is just EC2, excluding a few things, but it does have a key feature that savings plan don't have, which is the ability to kind of exchange and what's known as RI stretching or RI refinancing. You can effectively take your commitment to AWS and you can stretch it out or push some of it back in time. What that does is that lowers your hourly commitment rate in such a way that you can now not be overcommitted. So you get some downward pressure relief through convertible RIs. Standard RIs are the last type that Amazon makes available. Generally offers the highest discount, not always, but most of the time. It's very inflexible. Once you make a commitment, you cannot change it. You have minimum hold times, but the standard RIs do have an RI marketplace, so you can transfer that commitment to other AWS customers that are willing to receive it. So you have another way to dispose of commitment. You have a pressure relief valve for standard RIs offer that as well. And so each of these instruments has unique strengths and weaknesses, and it's almost like a financial portfolio. You don't want to put all of your investment into one investment type. You kind of want to diversify and take advantage of the strengths and weaknesses of the various types of financial instruments. Well, you want to do the same in AWS with your how you optimize your compute. And what you want to see is a coverage curve that looks like this, where you've got a mix of different types of these instruments, each taking advantage of their unique strengths. So compute savings plans is an immutable base. Standard RIs in the middle because they are disposable, but not really super malleable. And then convertible RIs are the most flexible in the sense that you can react quickly and immediately and dynamically adjust them to sort of shape your commitment to match your usage pattern. And this is generally what our platform will achieve for customers, is a blended mix of these that generate very high discounts, very high utilization, very high coverage, and then that's going to translate to sort of a world-class effective savings rate. So let me just show you what this looks like real quick, just to sort of make it real for you. What we're looking at is our console. This is an actual customer of ours, but we're running in demo mode, which is going to basically completely anonymize anything that would allow you to identify who this particular customer is. They are a moderate-sized customer. In March, they spent $411. In April, they spent, their usage, what they would have spent is about $325,000. You can see this is our chief KPI. Their effective savings rate was 43.7%. So for every dollar they would have spent on demand, they spent, 66.3 cents when it was all said and done. That's actually net of our charge as well. And what I want to show you, let's just see, before they came to us, they were at a 24.1%. So they're right in that zone there of what most people achieve. And if we kind of come down here and look at this, what you see here, this dotted line is their base effective savings rate. And then this yellow line here is the effective savings rate since our platform has been engaged. And you can see that number just steadily increasing from the mid-20s up to 43.7 in April. What's interesting about that is that if I turn off just some of these other metrics, these purple bars represent their totality of their compute usage. And you can see they were at 437 in November and 325 in April. So they've had declining compute usage. Generally speaking, that's going to be a challenge to a traditional approach of RIs and savings plans where you don't have any pressure relief, where you can remove commitment. But if we come down here and look at this chart, the red is on demand. Everything else is covered with either RIs or savings plans. You can see how our platform has actually reduced their commitment. And in April, they actually had quite a big drop down. And our platform has removed that commitment as well. So they were covered at 99.6%, high utilization rates, high blended discount rate. And again, that's how you achieve a world-class effective savings rate.
Hey, Erik. So first of all, I absolutely love that. I've got time for some questions before the next one. I want to learn more about this. And I have a question from the audience. Can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So one of the questions is, and you're talking about effective savings rate and then instant savings. The question from the audience, and I'd love it, please make a comment if your question was asked for the interaction, is how about instant savings plans? Does it give you close or similar discount as like a standard RI?
Yep. So that's a very great question. EC2 instant savings plans are basically the savings plan equivalent of a standard RI. We do not recommend EC2 instant savings plans, and we don't use them on our platform. And the reason is because unlike convertible RIs that actually offer a benefit over compute savings plans, EC2 instant savings plans don't offer any benefit over standard RIs. In fact, they have a downside in that they are immutable. So with a standard RI, if I make a commitment to a whatever M5 instance family and that usage goes away, you actually have pressure relief with the standard RI. You don't have that with EC2 instant savings plans. And so there are a few edge cases where we recommend it. For example, if you have Windows where you're changing the instance type within the family up and down, EC2 instant savings plans give you effectively instance size flexibility, which you generally only get with Linux. But save that use case, there isn't really any advantage to EC2 instant savings plans. So we do not recommend them over standard RIs.
Nice. All right, Erik, I know FinOps and cost optimization are key right now in today's world economic. What makes ESR, effective savings rate, so unique as a FinOps and cost optimization metric?
I think one is it's a simple metric. It's almost like if you're familiar with net promoter score in kind of customer service. It's a single metric you can track that sort of helps you understand how you're doing. And ESR is that single metric that helps you understand how you're doing when it comes to rate optimization. This is probably the biggest lever you have to optimize compute and your AWS bill in general. So having a way to gauge that, measure that, benchmark that against peers, which is data that's also available if you go to effectivesavingsrate.com, helps you know how you're doing. It's the biggest lever, generally speaking, that you have to sort of optimize costs. So it's a really powerful metric in that regard. It's completely ungameable. And so, some people may choose to not want to know what this is, but, if you want to know, I always say ESR never lies, right? You can, coverage and utilization may or may not tell the entire story because you could have 100% utilization with very low coverage or high coverage with very poor utilization, and you could sort of tell a story that might not be the truth, but ESR is always going to help you understand, where you're at with your AWS rate optimization efforts.
All right, Erik, my last question for you is, what's next for ProsperOps? And there was an article that came out, and I heard a couple of things where it's interesting about optimizing cyclical workloads. What's that all about?
Yeah, so look, our mission is we want to take AI, algorithms, real-time execution, and basically apply it to the FinOps problem space. So attack that waste pool that exists and help that money, stay in your budget. And so there's right now we're focused on AWS rate optimization, but there's lots of other dimensions and other clouds that we plan to go attack to basically help reclaim that waste and make sure it stays in your budget. So if you don't want to fund the next Olympics, we'd love to help you kind of keep some more of that money in your budget. If you are interested in understanding your ESR and what ProsperOps could do for you, we do offer a completely free compute savings analysis. If you go to ProsperOps.com, you can sign up for that. We take very lightweight permissions and give you a very customized report, kind of playing our algorithms on your specific environment in terms of what our algorithms and our platform can do to help save you some money.
Awesome. I see all the reactions come in, the thumbs up. Erik, thank you so much for that. I'm going to bring Giddy back on. We're going to do a magic. So Giddy, join us. But why he's joining us, I have a very challenging question from the audience, and one that I have asked you, and it seems to be one. Is it true AI?
Is our platform true AI? Is that your question?
True. Yes. True AI and automation and optimization for it.
It's actually a great question because there's a number of people in the space that are using non-automated, non-algorithmic, non-AI solutions to try to attack this problem. We operate at massive scale. We have customers that have, spend $20 million a month that have massive amounts of, volatility change, and we are analyzing that and optimizing that and using AI and optimization algorithms to process and manage that amount of data. It's an impossible problem to solve at our scale, if not. So absolutely. It's a very fair question, because we do see other people in the space that are attacking this in a different way. So if whoever you consider, definitely ask that question. Totally valid question.
I would definitely ask that question going with anybody that says they automatically handle your RIs, because automation and key is really to be the efficiency and most effective cost savings. All right, it's time. It's time for our magic there, Giddy. Let's do some stuff.